Would you believe me if I told you I've tried to film this video 3 times already? I don't think I'm very good at sit-down videos. Let's try again. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Korok, and this year I was able to fulfill my dream of through hiking the Appalachian Trail. This channel was started as just a desire to document my experience and share it with friends and family, so there are plenty of vlogs to go back and watch if that's something that you're interested in. And going forward, I think I would really like to keep this space as a way to document my adventures and my ever-changing relationship with mental health and the outdoors. So if that seems like something that you're interested, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Okay, so getting into the content of today's video, I would really like to sit down and discuss with you all the reasons why I think that my through hike was a success. Now, if you're familiar with the trail, you'll probably have also heard the statistic that only about 25% of people who attempt to through hike actually end up finishing. So that was something that weighed on my mind the entire trip. No matter if it was the beginning, the middle, towards the end, I was constantly thinking, how is it that I've gotten to this point? Am I going to finish, or is something going to happen and I'm going to have to drop out? So to me, success meant a few different things. Obviously, there's finishing the trail, one. But for me, it was also important that I did so in a way that was healthy to me physically. So I remained relatively injury-free. And it was also very important to me that I enjoyed myself and I had fun and I had overall a positive experience. So that's how I define a successful trail. I don't necessarily mean this to be a tips and tricks video. I don't really want to tell people what they should or shouldn't do, but I would really just like more to discuss my personal experience, say my thank yous, and just reflect. If it happens to be beneficial to you, that's really great. If you've through hiked before and you think that there is something that I missed, definitely let me know down in the comments below so that this can be a learning experience for everyone. I will also say that this isn't necessarily a ranked list of all of my reasons. I think that collectively they were all just as equally important as the other. So I don't want to hold one above anything else. So just keep that in mind that, yeah, this isn't necessarily ranked. So with that, let's get into the video. This one may seem really obvious, but I think that for me, in order to successfully complete my through hike, I had to have that desire within me. Going through the process of a through hike is so demanding on you, both physically and mentally, in both very positive and very negative ways. So for me, what was very important was that every single day I reminded myself of how badly I wanted this and why I wanted this. And I remember reading a blog post. I can't remember if I had already started my through or if this was beforehand, but I remember reading a blog post that really stuck with me, and I'll read you a little passage from it. While it's certainly possible to finish, even if you start out totally unprepared and inexperienced, there's one quality every successful through hiker must have. You have to want it more than anything. Through hiking is a volunteer activity. No one's making you do it. No one's paying you to be out there, struggling through rainstorms and steep, rocky terrain. You won't get a medal when you finally summit Baxter Peak. There is little external motivation to hike the AT. Your motivation must come from within. For me, what helped, it was a very cheesy thing, but I allowed myself every single day to have a moment of daydreaming, where I imagined myself standing on the summit of Katahdin, and I allowed myself to think about how that would feel for me, both in that moment and how that made me feel right then and there. So for me, it was really beneficial to sort of romanticize the idea of finishing and getting to the end, because there were some really, really hard days, and I think that a lot of times that was the only way I got through them. I through hiked with my husband, but we had an understanding before we started the trail that if something were to happen to one of us, injury or just a lack of desire to continue, that the other person would keep going. And I think for me, at least, that was important because I did have such a drive and a desire to do this trail. And I wasn't going to drop out just because whoever I was hiking with dropped out as well. So I think that in thru hiking, it's important to find your why. Why is it that you want to do this? It doesn't have to be a very profound reason, but it has to be your reason, I think. The next thing I want to talk about, and probably the thing that I could go on and on and on the most about, is just taking care of yourself physically. It's no secret that a thru hike is incredibly physically demanding, but I was really surprised still to find when I got on trail the extent to which people were willing to break their bodies down in pursuit of this bigger goal. But I knew even before I started trail that this was something that I really wanted to ease myself into. I didn't have a lot of backpacking experience, so I knew that I wasn't going to be pushing big miles out of the gate anyways, and I knew that it wasn't a good idea to be doing that regardless. So it was really important to us that in the first, I would say about 2 weeks, we kept our mileage very low. I think most days we were sitting within 8 to 12 miles. And eventually, once we started to ramp our mileage up, I think the sweet spot for me personally was about 15 to 18, 15 to 19 miles. And it is true what they say, that the big miles do come. Eventually, I think the highest mileage day that I did was 24. So I did get to have my big mileage days, and I was able to gently ease myself into the experience. I also was very adamant that I knew my own comfort level. I knew that I wasn't going to be doing any challenges, not the 4-state challenge, not the Connecticut challenge. My body wasn't built for that, and I understood that. I found my comfortable mileage to sit within, and I tried to stick with that as much as I could. I also tried to make it a habit during my thru hike of taking care of myself every single day, either by rolling out my feet with a little massage ball or stretching every day. The rolling out of my feet was really important to me. I did it every single day on trail. I had it wasn't a cork ball, but it was some other lightweight material. And I used that every single night at camp after we had gotten in, settled, and put up our tents. I think spending those few minutes just doing that every day really made a big difference. I only ended up having issues with my feet later on in Pennsylvania when I had some plantar fasciitis due to some new shoes that I'd gotten. But definitely having that little massage ball and rolling out my feet every single night helped me feel better. I think it slowed down the pain. It could have been a lot worse. And once I'd gotten new shoes, the problem kind of resolved itself. In the beginning, I was really good about consistently stretching as well once we had gotten to the shelters in the evening. I will admit that I think by month 2, that routine started to become less and less. And I think that is what helped contribute to my problems that I was having with my hip. Somewhere around Southern Virginia, I was noticing that the right side of my hip was getting really tight, and I just couldn't figure out what to do with it. I was taking all types of medicine. I was putting hot compress on it, cold compress. And eventually I realized that I just needed to stretch it out in a very specific way that I wasn't doing before. And it was only after doing these stretches consistently after about a week, even though I'd been suffering from this pain for like 3 weeks already. After doing some new stretching for about a week, I found that the pain slowly started to go away, and I was able to keep hiking for the rest of the hike without any problems in that area. And from then on, I really made a concerted effort to reincorporate stretching back into my routine. I even did extra things like booking a sports massage when we got to Delaware Water Gap. I looked for yoga classes in trail towns that we stopped in during our zeros, just to incorporate a little bit of different movement into the hike. Now, there were times when, like I said, I was injured or my partner Tribute was injured, And in those circumstances, we really tried not to push our bodies too hard because we knew it just wasn't going to be beneficial for us in the end. So if he had an injury, if I had an injury, we either slowed down our mileage, we took some extra zeros, and in the moment, it was a really painful decision to make. I think sometimes he struggled with the guilt of stopping, or I struggled with the guilt of stopping. But we also saw so many instances of people just pushing their bodies to the limit and then eventually having to get off trail. And we really didn't want to do that. So in our minds, we would have rather sacrificed an extra day or two of a slower pace to be able to continue overall. I'm currently about almost 3 months post-trail, and I feel pretty good. I would say that I don't have any lasting injuries from the trail. I think I got rid of my hiker hobble maybe like a month in, finally. I still can't feel some of my toes, but it's slowly getting better. But overall, I think I was really afraid because I'd heard a lot of horror stories of people just permanently messing up their knees or their feet. And I think, fingers crossed, I managed to get away with it. So I definitely attribute that to the fact that I was consistently listening to my body and trying my best to take care of it. Because it's not just about the experience on trail, it's also about what that gives you afterwards. And I didn't want to complete this goal and fulfill my dream, but then also permanently wreck my body afterwards. So I know they said this wasn't going to be a tips and tricks video, but if there is one tip that I really urge you to follow if you're going to attempt a thru hike, it is to please, please, please just take care and listen to your body. So earlier I talked about finding your why. Why is it that you want to do the trail? And how that why can be so different for so many different people. Sometimes the why can just simply be, I want the title of being a thru-hiker. I want to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail. And a lot of times that's enough. But I think that it can also be a little bit of a dangerous why. And I say that it's a dangerous mindset because I have seen instances of people who are on trail and are absolutely miserable, but they keep going and they keep pushing themselves because this is something that they've always wanted to do, or they're almost done with the trail. You know, they're X amount of miles away, so they think, oh, I might as well just finish it. In these circumstances, I see that the stubbornness of just wanting to finish the trail, wanting to be a thru-hiker, supersedes the desire for happiness and just enjoying yourself during the process. That was why, for me, it was really important that I was consistently choosing things that brought me joy on trail, choosing experiences that I knew I was going to regret if I didn't end up doing them. I really wanted this to be an experience because I knew that it was probably going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That was why, for me, it was really important that this whole experience was one where I was continuously seeking to do things that brought me joy and just contributed to a positive experience for myself. There were definitely some negative times, whether it was due to weather or other factors. So to offset that, I think you really just have to try to find things that make you happy and try not to worry so much about what other people think. I will say that the latter was definitely something that I struggled with and something that I was continuously trying to improve upon during my hike, worrying what other people thought. But overall, I think I did choose a lot of things that brought me joy and that made my experience more positive. So to give you some examples, slack packing was one of them. If you're not familiar, slack packing is when you are dropped off in one part of the trail, someone else has your bag or the majority of the things in your bag, and then you hike to another point on trail and you're picked up. So the idea is that you are eased a little bit by the burden of your pack by not having to carry all of it. So we definitely did some slack packing adventures. I think most of it was just due to weather-related circumstances, but it definitely did make some days a little bit either mentally or physically easier for us, so I definitely appreciated slack packing. The other thing that we did was a little bit of road walking. I think we started road walking around the Blue Ridge Parkway area of Virginia, and that was simply because we'd heard that there were no views on trail, and all of the views were actually on the road, and this was true. So we decided to do some road walking, and we really enjoyed that experience. And we continued to do it throughout different parts of the trail. Sometimes it was because there were better views. Sometimes it was because either myself or Tribute weren't feeling our physical best that day, and we just knew that road walking was the best option to get more miles in. Some of the other things that we did to ease the pressure on ourselves and make the experience more enjoyable was taking a few extra zeros. It is a privilege to be able to spend the extra money, but I think if you have it, and I think that if you aren't in a big rush to meet a certain deadline, I think that it's definitely something I suggest. Overall, I think I just really tried to make an effort to enjoy all of the small things, and it really just enhanced the experience for me. So yes, the trail is difficult, but if you try to find moments that really bring you a lot of joy, I think you'll find that it's a little bit easier to continue day to day, and it's not so much of a burden on you mentally. Okay, so the next reason why I think my thru-hike was successful may seem like a little bit of a cop-out, but hear me out. I think that at the end of the day, there is just a certain element of luck that means that you'll make it to Katahdin. For me, I think that I was lucky in so many ways. We were lucky with the weather, for one. We did start in February, late February, which did mean that we had some cold spells. But, for example, we got through the Smokies without any rain or any snow. We hit a heat wave sometime in June. But for me personally, I think that heat is a lot more easy to deal with than rain. We just got up earlier in the morning, hiked until about midday, took an extended break, kept hiking at night. So that was easier to manage. I can't imagine having thru-hiked the trail in 2023 when there was a lot of really bad flooding up in I think it was Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. I think if I had thru-hiked that year, I'm not sure I would have finished. I find that rain is a lot more difficult for me to deal with. It also puts a greater strain on the trail if it just washes out sections of the trail. So we got really, really lucky that we didn't have any extreme weather that really prohibited us from being able to carry on. I do really, really feel for people who were going Sobo and who had to cut their thru-hike short because of Hurricane Helene, for example. So we were lucky that we were sitting within that comfortable window of good weather, and that overall, I would say that it was a pretty good weather year for doing the trail. I was also really lucky that I didn't have any major slips, trips, or falls that took me off trail. I did fall once, really badly, in the Whites. I can't remember which mountain we were coming down, but I basically fell and I ended up bruising my rib, and I had pain there for about 2 weeks. I feel very, very lucky that it wasn't anything worse. There were also a lot of other times on trail where I tripped over a root or a rock, and I think I was just lucky that it didn't turn into anything worse. I have heard of circumstances where people end up having falls that just permanently have to take them off trail. So I do consider myself lucky that none of that happened to me. I also feel very lucky that I didn't get Lyme disease. I will be honest, full disclosure, I was not that good about checking myself for ticks. I did spray my stuff down with permethrin, I think, once. And there were some days where I was just too tired at the end of the day to check myself. So I think I only ever found one tick on me. But who knows, because I wasn't that diligent about checking. Don't do what I did. Please check yourself every day for ticks. And just continue to spray permethrin on your things. I also got really lucky that logistically, I was able to complete it all in one go. I know some people had family emergencies or other things that called them off trail. For me, it was pretty smooth sailing. I didn't really have to get off trail for anything except for a family event, and I knew that I was going to be back. So all of these are just little examples of how you can plan and plan and plan so much for a thru hike, but at the end of the day, there are just certain factors that are out of your control and might mean that you do make it to Katahdin or you don't. So please keep that in mind. Don't beat yourself up about it if you don't end up making it to the end. I think I just happened to get lucky in so many ways, and I'm so grateful for the experience that I had. The last reason that I would like to give for why I think my thru hike was successful was because of the community. There were so many people who, knowingly or unknowingly, contributed to making our experience what it was, and without them, I don't think that we would have been able to continue day to day, and certainly not have been able to make it to the end. I'm going to try to get through these thank yous as quickly as I can. I'm sorry if I miss anybody. There were just so many people that we met along the way. So the first person that I want to thank is, of course, Tribute. Tribute is my partner in hiking and my partner in life, and I don't think I would have been able to do this experience without him. As much as I like to say that I'm a strong, independent woman, there were so many times on trail that I relied on him either mentally to help me through the day or physically to help me through the day, especially in the Whites, for example, if you've seen those vlogs. Tribute was such a source of comfort and inspiration for me throughout the whole journey. I know that there were certainly some days where we felt like we had to pick up the mental load for each other. So for example, if he wasn't having a good day, I kind of picked it up and kept the spirits up for the both of us, and he very much did the same thing for me. It was also really nice to be able to have somebody to rely on consistently for just really little things. For example, helping to plan our next stop in town, or just picking up the load of chores to do around camp. So for example, when I was having problems with my hip, I was finding it really difficult to set up my tent, go down a blue blaze to get water, and Tribute would help me out then. And I did the same for him, vice versa. So yeah, it was really, really nice to have somebody around who I knew wasn't going to ditch me, who was just able to support me in so many ways on trail. And I think I was able to do the same for him. I hope I was able to do the same for him. So yeah, definitely this experience would not have been what it was without him. The next set of people that I would like to thank are our families, who were completely supportive of this endeavor from the beginning. When we told them about 2 years before we were going to start our thru that this was something we wanted to do and we were going to quit our jobs to do it, we thankfully had nothing but support from them. I have heard stories of people who didn't have supportive families, and they were trying to work out how to convince them that this was something that they should be allowed to do. And that really breaks my heart, because our families were just such a source of support and positive encouragement. I don't think we would have been able to do it without them. If you've seen the vlogs, you will have seen that my mom came out to visit us, I think maybe like 5 or 6 times. And every time she did so, she took us to get resupplied, she took us to get food, she brought me a whole body massage thing at one point, just to ease my aches and pains. And then my dad and my sisters also came out to visit us a few times. And it was really, really nice to have family come visit, not just because they paid for our resupplies and took us out to eat and other things that we wanted to do, but also because it was just so nice to be able to show the people that we loved in real time the experience that we were going through. I was able to show my mom Woods Hole, for example, which was one of my favorite hostels on trail, and that was a really special experience. I think, or I hope, for my family as well, it was really nice for them to be able to see where we were on the trail, just get a little idea of what our day-to-day life was like. So definitely having them come visit was a really big source of comfort. And then also just their words of encouragement every day really helped us to keep going. Tribute's parents as well were also amazing sources of support. We have an apartment back in the UK that we rented out to someone while we were away. And thankfully, They were gracious enough to deal with a lot of the logistical side of that for us so that we weren't stressed about trying to manage that from a different country. So that was just a really, really big mental help for me. They also came out to see us after we had finished the trail, and that was really nice. We got to take them to Shenandoah to show them a little bit of the trail and what a shelter looked like in real life. We got to take them to Harper's Ferry, to the ATC Visitor Center, and just their excitement at the experience that we had gone through. And again, their positive encouragement every single day just made it a little bit easier to get through the trail. I would also like to thank our parents for paying for some of our hostel stays. Full disclosure, yeah, we didn't pay for all of our stays ourselves. We definitely had some help from our parents, also some of Tribute's family, and we really, really appreciate it. Our extended families were also really supportive. My aunt and uncle came to visit us at the halfway point in Harper's Ferry, also checking up on us throughout the trail. Tribute's family also, some of them helped contribute to our hostel stays, and I think they were also watching our videos throughout the process, so it was really nice to constantly hear from them. So I think overall we were so lucky to have such a positive community surrounding us, and we definitely had so much love from so many different people, and we really felt it. I wouldn't be lying if I said that part of the reason I pushed myself to keep going was so that I didn't disappoint so many people that we knew in real life. Moving on to the trail community, the people that we saw along our journey, there are so many people to thank there. First of all, I want to start out with the friends that we made along the way. We met so many amazing other fellow hikers on trail, and it was really special to be able to share so many of those experiences with them. In particular, I want to thank Cold Cut, Cutie, and Pacer for being there for so much of the journey. We met them pretty early on in the trail, I think sometime within the first month, and we all stuck around each other more or less for the remainder of the journey. And although we didn't always hike together, we always found a way back to each other. And it always made me so happy when I thought that we had lost them forever because we had to take a few extra zeros, or we had to get off trail to go to a family event. And then we get back on trail, and there they are at a shelter. And I think it just really does something for the spirit to be able to share these experiences with people. We shared Cold Cut's birthday with her, for example, and we also celebrated Tribute's birthday with them, so I know that's definitely something we're not going to forget. There was also a really nice little group of people that we were around from Mount Washington on till the end. We actually ended up summiting Katahdin with them, and I really appreciated their companionship in those last few weeks on trail. So all of that to say that the trail is just such a unique experience, and being able to find people who you enjoy being with and that you're able to share so many special moments with was just such a blessing, and I really looked forward to seeing these people every day. The next set of people that I would like to thank are all of the trail angels that helped us along the way, whether that was giving us a simple bit of trail magic or really elaborate trail magic. I can tell you that every single instance was so appreciated. It didn't just extend to trail magic. We also had people that were willing to pick us up and drive us wherever we wanted. They took us into their homes. They fed us. They let us shower, let us do laundry, all without asking for a single thing back from us. And I think it just really blows my mind that there are people out there who have such kindness in their hearts that they're willing to do this for complete strangers, all without asking for anything in return. Part of the reason why I wanted to come on trail was because I felt a little bit jaded by society the past few years, and I think this whole experience has definitely renewed my faith in people, and definitely something that I would like to pay forward in the future. Just really quickly, I'd also like to thank all of the hostel owners on trail. There were so many amazing hostels that we went to, and you could tell that a lot of them really put their heart and soul into making it such a positive place for hikers, such a relaxing place for hikers. So I really appreciate that. There were also a lot of businesses that we came across on trail who were very hiker friendly. You don't know how much it means to a smelly, hungry hiker to be able to be let into a business and sit there and charge all your stuff and have a good meal. Sometimes that's the difference between being able to keep going for the day mentally. So I definitely appreciate that. The last group of people that I'd like to thank is everyone that watched my YouTube channel. So all of you guys, I read all of the comments and have done from the very beginning. And I can't tell you how much some of the positive encouragement has really helped keep me going, whether it was positive compliments on my editing or positive words to keep me going when I was having anxiety breakdowns. And I really appreciated everyone who took the time to write a kind little message to me. And I know that some of you have been here from the very beginning, and just know that I see you and I thank you, and you definitely helped to make my experience a positive one. So thank you so much for that. And now the sun's in my face. Okay, I think this is a good place to end. I think I've said all I need to, all I want to. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you found it useful or illuminating in some way. I'd wanted to do this video for a long time, just as an exercise in self-reflection, but again, also a way to thank a lot of people, because as much as you think a thru-hike is an individual journey, it really isn't. It's really about all the support and the community that is behind you every step of the way. So just remember that if you're ever attempting a thru-hike, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to lean on other people. And only in doing that will some of us be able to get to the end. Like I said, this was all based off of my own personal experience, so if you have something that you'd like to add, I'd really love to hear it in the comments down below. If you're planning on doing a thru-hike in the future, please know that I believe in you. I believe that if you take care of yourself physically and mentally out on the trail, you're going to be able to make it as far as you want, whether that's till the end or earlier than that. It all depends on you and what you're willing to put into it. So with that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.